Hello there, I am Tigster2005 of the Prequelgang, and welcome to another episode of Tigster Talks, the show where I talk about stuff by myself. So, recently I watched Ant-Man and the Wasp, and this is one of the latest MCU films that came out after Infinity War, and wow, I only have 3 movies left to go before I'm all caught up. So, okay, spoilers and spoiler warning, of course. So, this movie is about Scott Lang. He's under house arrest after what happened in Civil War, and he hasn't talked to Hank Pym or Hope since the first Ant-Man movie, and suddenly Hank Pym's wife, Hope's mother, like somehow ends up like in Scott's head or something, and like because she was like in the quantum realm, and like she ends up in like controlling like she was like what's the word I'm looking for? What's she could place like thoughts in like memories or something inside of Scott's head or something, and yeah, basically Scott saw this like dream where he was like he was the mother, and she was like playing hide and seek with Hope, and basically he called Dr. Pym about it, and that led to the events of this movie where Dr. Pym and Hope are trying to find Hope's mother, and meanwhile all this other stuff is going on, and overall I think this is like a really funny movie. uh, Overall this movie is like almost as funny as like the first Ant-Man. I think the first Ant-Man had like slightly more comedic stuff, but I don't know, maybe I'm just remembering it wrong. Um, so what is there to say about this movie? Well, I think this movie is definitely a very fun, action-packed thing, and it definitely explains why Ant-Man wasn't in Infinity War, because, well, first of all, he was under house arrest, and second of all, he was busy with all of this, and third of all, this movie actually takes place like slightly before Infinity War, because you see in the post-credits scene, uh, Hank, Hope, and like Hope's mother being turned to dust, which was what happened to a lot of people at the end of Infinity War. So that's yeah. So yeah, this is like, I guess this is technically like sort of a prequel to Infinity War, but not really. I mean, I'd say that it's probably good to watch it after, because like then it makes more sense what happens in the post-credit scene, because if you watch this before Infinity War, you watch the post-credit scene and it's like, yo, what happened? Why did they turn to dust? What? But then I don't know, maybe they should have placed it before Infinity War. I feel like a lot of the Phase 3 movies they kind of did in a really weird order. I mean, of course Civil War had to be first because like everything happens afterwards, but why didn't they put Black Panther right after Civil War? Because like that movie, it takes place like right after it like follows up on the events of Civil War, like almost like it's like the direct sequel. And then you could have Spider-Man Homecoming, which similarly takes place slightly after Civil War, but like I don't feel like it's as direct as it was as Black Panther was. Then maybe you could have Guardians Vol 2 and Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is like doing its kind of like its own thing. It wasn't really connected to Civil War, so you could have that like basically anywhere. I think you could have Guardians Vol 2 and Doctor Strange in like that spot in the middle. Like I say in the middle, but I don't really know what I mean. 'Cause like that's like doing its own thing, and Guardians Vol 2 was like basically like disconnected from the MCU until Infinity War. So that doesn't really matter where you place it. Honestly, you could probably place it like before Civil War, and everything would still work out just fine. So yeah, and then Thor Ragnarok. and then Infinity War, because the beginning of Infinity War like follows up right after Thor Ragnarok. So yeah, and then of course right before Infinity War you would have Ant-Man and Wasp as well, because it takes place right before Infinity War. So I don't know. Or actually maybe you would have Ant-Man and Wasp before Ragnarok. I don't know. Basically, yeah, I I don't know what to say. Um, but yeah, that's like the chronology of everything. Uh, Obviously, this series hasn't always been chronologically stable. I mean, Captain America: The First Avenger is the first movie chronologically speaking, but the fifth movie in terms of when it was released. Uh, so yeah, there's that. Let's see, but back to Ant-Man and Wasp. Who was the Wasp character, you ask? Oh yeah, it's Hope. It's Hank Pym's daughter. Uh, but the only reason that I know that, the only reason why I know that she is the Wasp, is because of Disney Plus's subtitles. If it weren't for Disney Plus's subtitles saying like the Wasp colon and then whatever she was saying, then I would never have known that she was called the Wasp, because they never call her the Wasp in this movie. Like, I don't remember a single point in the movie where they call her the Wasp, which I mean that's kind of been a problem for like a lot of Marvel movies. Like you might remember in my Avengers video, I commented that apparently they're called Black Widow and Hawkeye, but they call her Black Widow exactly one time, not even in English. There was like this scene where they were speaking Russian with English subtitles, so there was that, and then they literally never call him Hawkeye ever. So yeah, there's that. It's kind of the same thing here. Um, uh, so what else? Okay, this movie, it's funny, it's entertaining, of course. Uh, Scott's friend Luis, like whenever he talks and like he has like this flashback scene, it's always like the funniest thing. And like this guy's asking him where Scott is, and he's like he goes on this really long drawn out story, and he keeps like interrupting himself just to say that he's like in a hard place emotionally speaking. And but no, the guy was asking where Scott is literally speaking. And he was like, "Oh yeah, no, he's in the woods. He's in like the woods over there. Yeah, yeah, whatever." So that was a really funny moment. And one moment that I thought was like a really sweet moment was that was like when Dr. Pym and Hope were like trying to build the machine that was like that could send them into the quantum realm, and Hope's mother like sort of takes over Scott's mind for a bit, and she like starts typing those algorithms or something into the computer, and then they have this like little moment where it's like where they sort of uh, are temporarily reunited, even if it's not like her there. She's like reuniting with her husband and daughter through Scott. So like I thought that was just like a really sweet moment, and then of course when they finally get her out of the quantum realm, like that is just like perfect. And of course the action scenes, there isn't I feel like there isn't as much of like Ant-Man going like just constantly changing his height and all that, and there wasn't as much usage of the ants, although that is still present in this movie. There's not as much of it, and of course we also have the Wasp, which she's basically just Ant-Man except not Ant-Man. um, but yeah, she has like the same abilities and stuff. And then we have this character, the Ghost, who was like important but also not important. I feel like you could have just not had her in this movie, and I don't know. It's like she was an important character in some ways, but at the same time, like that's not really what I remember that's not really what stuck with me for this movie. That's like, I feel like it's kind of an issue that a lot of MCU sequels have. It's like they try to do a lot more, but then a lot of the time it ends up feeling like a little too much, like it's a little too cluttered. Like there's just a lot going on, and it wasn't as focused as the first installment. Iron Man 2 suffered from that. Um, Thor: The Dark World, to a certain extent, suffered from that. Captain America: Winter Soldier, that was like a very bad example of that. In addition to all the other stuff that horrible movie got wrong. Uh, I mean, okay, it's not horrible, but like it's not good. It's not a good movie in my opinion. Guardians Vol 2, that sort of suffered from that, and Age of Ultron as well, um, and Ant-Man and the Wasp. Yeah, it sort of has a lot more going on in its story. It's not as simple or like easy to grasp everything as the first Ant-Man was. And I remember the first Ant-Man was like, I remarked how similar its movie structure was to the first Iron Man movie, and I felt like that was like a really good way to do that. But you know, Ant-Man and the Wasp, they can't just do the same thing again because that simply wouldn't work, and I understand that. But I don't know. I just think the first Ant-Man movie was better. Not gonna lie. Um, but yeah, no, I think this movie was really good. Um, and I really enjoyed it. And of course, the post-credit scene where Scott is stuck in the quantum realm and everyone else is just has turned to dust. Yeah, that's kind of that's a problem. So now and then after that it says like Ant-Man and the Wasp will return question mark. So it's like so that's hinting at the fact that, you know, they might return in Avengers Endgame, but they might not. So we'll see about that. So anyway, we only have one more movie before Endgame. That's Captain Marvel. They're introducing a new character right before like the big Endgame, so I guess I'll be watching that. So thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe, hit the bell, turn on notifications, follow us on Instagram and Twitch, join our Discord server, and keep having the high ground. Bye.